Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and this is the introduction to operating systems. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Windows, and this is Microsoft Windows 10, which is the version you're going to see on the computers in the computer lab. The computers you're going to be interacting with every day are going to have Windows 10 on them. So I'm going to teach you how to use this operating system, how to save files, how to move files around, things of that nature, so that everyone's on the same page. First of all, what is an operating system? Well, operating system is essentially the software that dictates how things work. So how files are moved around, how tabs are opened, how the start menu opens, and what you can do, what applications you can run, how you can search for files, the file structure. So here I have the File Explorer in Windows. And this is going to look different than the File Explorer in other operating systems. So I can pull up my desktop, my downloads, documents, pictures, and then other files that I've saved. We're going to talk about this in just a minute. But first, I want to talk about other operating systems you might see. So for example, another very popular operating system is Mac OS. It looks like this. It's usually, you'll see it on Apple computers. So if you have a MacBook Pro or something of that nature, you'll see this Mac OS. It works kind of the opposite. Almost everything is just the opposite in Windows. Whereas with Windows, you have a right click and a left click. In Mac OS, you only have one button to click. In Windows, all your application menu items are in the right, up here, right? Whereas with Mac, all your application menu items are in the left. So anyway, but it's just a different way of moving files around and organizing things. Another way is Ubuntu or Linux. Ubuntu is a version of Linux. Linux is essentially an open source operating system, meaning that anyone can make changes to it and modify it. It's kind of more of a specialist operating system. It's used by people who kind of know what they're doing. And it takes a little while to get used to and learn. But Ubuntu is out there. Linux is out there. There are versions of Ubuntu like Red Hat or Debian. Like I said, there's thousands of versions. But those exist. We're talking about Windows today. So let's talk about some features with Windows that make it really easy for us to do what we need to do. First of all, this view right here, this is the desktop. This is my desktop workspace. I'm signed into my own personal user account, and this desktop is specific to my user account. In the computer lab, you all have one user account. It's called the student account. So you're all going to be sharing the same desktop environment, the same workspace, which means if you save a file onto your desktop, then that file will be there when the next student sits down next class period. It'll be there and they can change it, manipulate it, delete it if they want, which is a bad thing. We don't want that. So anytime you save anything to this computer, you need to put it on your Google Drive so that you can store it personally and no one else has access to it, and then delete it off of the computer. Okay? And in order to delete a file, all you have to do is right-click on the file itself and select delete. Here you can also copy a file so you can place it somewhere else. You can cut a file, which essentially deletes the file but copies it before it deletes it so that you can put it somewhere else. You don't have to go back and delete it later. You can rename files. You can open up the properties menu, which shows you a bunch of stuff about the file. For example, this is a movie file. It's a .mov file. I know that it's an MOV file because of the file extension, the .mov at the end, which tells me what files or what applications open this file. I have the name of the file, when it was created, who owns it, how big the file is as far as data. So this file is 69.9 megabytes, which is kind of small. I can see who has the ability to change it or modify this file, which users have the ability to do so. I can see the details of the file, which there's not many. Basically stuff that I've already seen. I can look at previous versions of the file. If I've made changes to it, there might be previous versions of the file stored. But all that stuff is great. You're probably not going to need any of that. I can change how this file gets opened. Like let's say I don't want my files to be opened with, I don't want my movies to be opened with Media Player anymore. I want to open with VLC. I can open it with VLC. I can share this file with other people, meaning that other users will have access to this file even though I've created it and put it in a folder that is not shared. I can send it to a Bluetooth device. So if I have a Bluetooth connection to another device, I can send it there. I can zip this file. Zipping basically means I take this file and I compress it. I make it as small as it possibly can be. And it has this little zipper on the outside of the file showing that it's zipped. In order to use that file again, I have to then unzip the file. I have to decompress the folder. Let's see, and there's some other stuff here. We're not going to worry about it. So files themselves are the individual pieces of data that we would manipulate in this operating system. Now, files exist inside of other things called folders. So for example, I have a pictures folder, right? And so my pictures folder is in my user account, and actually Windows 10 kind of doesn't show it. All right, let's go this way. So this PC, my pictures folder is inside my hard drive here. So in devices and drivers, you have your local disk C. C is always, in Windows, always going to be the operating system hard drive, basically the hard drive where all the operating system files are loaded to. And so in C, hold on a second.
Can I please get Danica McBride to the front office? Danica McBride and Cadet Quintanilla to the office. Thank you.
So now that's part of the video. All right. Anyway, so the C drive is where your operating system files are going to be. Now, if you only have one hard drive on a computer and you're running Windows operating system, then that hard drive is going to be your C drive. And usually your D drive is your optical drive or your CD, DVD drive. So in my C drive, I can open up the C drive, and I have these files inside my C drive. Okay, I've got a file for Autodesk, I've got a file for Intel, performance logs, program files x86, because this is a 64-bit operating system. And anyway, you don't need to know that. Anyway, I've got program files, I've got users, and I've got Windows. Windows is where all my operating system files are stored, things that allow my computer to boot up and actually do things. You do not want to mess with anything in the Windows folder, okay? You don't even want to go in here because there's some really bad things you can do in here. For example, you could get rid of, see this folder right here, System32? If you were to get rid of System32, you wouldn't be able to load your operating system and you would crash your computer, okay? Because these are all the files you need to load your operating system. So don't play around in the Windows folder. Let's go back to the local drive. So if I go to my users account here, this has all the users that are loaded into this operating system. So I have default users, I have public user, and owner. The user account that I'm using is owner. So I'm going to go into owner. Now I have owner's contacts, desktops, documents, downloads, favorites, links, music, OneDrive, pictures, saved games, searches, and videos. If I go to the pictures folder, these pictures are specific to me. So I have pictures like Cyber Patriot pictures that I've taken. I have pictures like examples of students' artwork. I have, cool wallpapers like this one that I'm using. I have pictures that I've saved that I want to keep for myself. I can also go to documents where I have documents that I want to store. I have videos, right? Videos that I've been working on. Music, which I don't have any music on here. But these individual folders are they specify the kind of folder or the file that you want to keep in there. So if I want to save a file, let's say I wanted to, I was working on a file and I wanted to save it to my hard drive, right? So let's say I'm working in Microsoft Word. I open up Microsoft Word and I'm going to save a file to my hard drive. So this is a file, right? I want to save it to, let's say, my desktop, right? I don't want to go to OneDrive. I want to go to this PC. I'm going to save it to, I'll put it in documents. Why not? And this is test.docx. I'm going to save. Now, that file will now be in my documents folder, right? I can close this out and I can go back to documents right here, and I have my test file that I just saved and just created, right? I can open it, and it says exactly what I wanted it to say. Now, what I can do is I can put this on my Google Drive so that it's off the hard drive. The best way to do that is let's open up our web browser. And you want to go to drive.google.com. And you're going to sign in with your student's email account, with your UMA email account. Now, I have my Google Drive here, and I have a bunch of files on here because I've been using it for years. And it's kind of unorganized, and I need to organize it better. But let's say I want to put a new file. I want to put this test file onto my Google Drive, right? And I want to create a folder for all my computer technology work. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to right-click and say New Folder, and I'm going to say Computer Technology, because this is where I want to save all my computer technology files. And I'll just say Computer Technology Test. I'm going to create that, and it's going to create a new folder called Computer Technology Test. And I can open that folder, and I can take that file that I just completed and drag it over in here and just let it go. And it will upload that file, and now that file exists here on my Google Drive account. No one else has access to it. It is my file forever. And I can go back to the hard drive, and I can delete this file before I leave class so that no one can use my work, no one can copy off my work, no one can delete my files. I own it. I own this file now, and no one else can mess with it but me. Okay? And whenever I want to work on this assignment again, I can just download this file by right-clicking and downloading it, and it will download it, and it'll put it in, you guessed it, my downloads folder. So right there in my downloads folder, there it is. There's test, and I can open it, and I can continue working on it, make whatever changes I want. So this is still a file, right? I can save it, and then I can go back to my, go back here and drop it back in, right? And it's going to update it as test.version2. Now notice that those changes were made, right? That second line of text automatically got put in. If I don't change the file name, it just updates the already existing file, which is great. That's a great way to use Google Drive. So that's how you're going to use your operating system and your cloud-based file storage to manage your files that you're working on in class. Let's talk about some other things having to do with Windows that you might not have known, but are really helpful to know for just basically using the operating system. First of all, when I'm in my File Explorer, right, I'm here with my Downloads folder, I can click View, and I can choose all different ways to look at these files. I can choose different views that I want to use for these files: navigation pane, preview pane, details pane, extra large icons, a list. I can choose all kinds of different views. I can group them by different styles. I can add checkboxes here. I can add the file name extensions, which is great, so I can see what kind of file they are. There are all kinds of things that I can do in View. I can also share. So I can share files over, I can basically create a zip. I can share it through other users in Windows. I can print the file right here from the File Explorer. I can burn it right to a CD. There are all kinds of things I can do. And then Home, I have a bunch of options here using Home. I can create a new folder, open the properties. I can open up this file in Windows. It already recognizes that it's a Windows or that it's a Microsoft Word file. I can open it in Word. All kinds of things I can do here. So that's the File Explorer. Let's talk about right down here, Cortana. Right? Cortana is it's kind of awesome. Cortana allows you to search for things on your computer as well as things on the internet. So if I'm searching for, let's say, Microsoft Word, right? I can search for Microsoft Word. It'll find Microsoft Word on my computer because it's already there. It tells me it's a desktop application, so I can click on it to open it. It shows me my recent files that I've used, that I can open. And it also allows me to search the internet for Microsoft Word, which it'll pull up Microsoft Word's website, and I can go there and check it out, right? So Cortana is great, and if you have speech recognition, you can click the little button and you can say what you're looking for, and it'll search for it sometimes. Let's talk about settings. So this little gear icon, well, first of all, this start menu here, right?
Miss Muse?
Not Miss Muse's class.
Oh. Is Miss Jordan there?
Nope.
No? Okay, thanks.
Sorry about that interruption. All right, so this gear right here allows you to open up, pulled up on my other file. All right, it allows you to open up a Windows settings menu where you can change settings about Windows. First of all, you can change your display. Right now I have 3 monitors connected. One is my laptop computer or laptop monitor. Number 3 is the projector, which is duplicated. And then number 2 is my big monitor right next to. All right.
Can you please release the junior high wrestling team to report to the front hallway? Please release the junior high wrestling team to report to the front hallway. Thank you.
Okay. So you can change your display options. You can look at the applications and features you have installed on your computer and make changes there if that pulls up. It's thinking. All right, so I can see all the applications that I have installed on my computer, and I can uninstall them or modify them here if I want. I can look at my default applications, so applications that will pull up as soon as I hit something that needs to be. So if I double click a file, it'll open up the default application, and I can change what application that is by going to this menu. Notifications, power and sleep, battery storage, all these things. These are all really good options to become familiar with so you can learn how to use your computer properly. One other thing before I go, because this video is getting kind of long. Down here you have your taskbar, right? And I can see what applications are available to me just by clicking on the item in the taskbar. So I have one tab that I have open and another tab that I have open, and if I hover over them, they'll snap into focus, and I can kind of see what's in those files, right, or in those application tabs. I can click on a new application that's running. I can even close this out, and because Spotify for me, I've pinned that to my to my taskbar, it never goes away. So I can just click it again and it'll open up for me right away. So I don't have to go try to find a shortcut or find where it exists. So if you want things to kind of be easy and be where you can click them easily, you can pin them to the taskbar just by right clicking and selecting pin to taskbar, and it'll keep it there forever. So that's about it. There's a lot more that I can show you, but that should be enough to get you started. If you have any questions, please ask me. We're going to go over a lot more of this in class as well, so please ask any and all questions you can, because the more familiar you are with your operating system, the more efficient you're going to be as a computer operator, and you're going to be able to do things much more quickly and much more efficiently if you understand how to navigate the operating system. So spend some time practicing and ask any questions you have. Thank you very much.